Okay. Hi, my name is Suzan Smadi. Thank you for being here with us at Sacred Connections. I'm here with John DeMato. Did I say that correctly?
You sure did.
Awesome. So the reason why we're here is to talk about vulnerability. So John actually has a blog post, right? Do you have a blog?
I do, yes. I use it along with my photography business. Yes.
Very cool. So he's a photographer, and he had this post about vulnerability right after my BQH session. If you want to look at that and what that means beyond quantum healing, I have a video on that, and you can look at it. And so he talked about vulnerability and how it's impacted him in his trajectory of his journey, his personal journey. So I wanted to bring him on to talk about this really important topic, because I feel like if you are not in a place where you can be vulnerable, you're not actually being authentic. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, that essentially is the cornerstone of my entire business. Because it's the vulnerability that allows you to open yourself up and drop your guard and be the person you are, and therefore attract the types of people that you want to be around, that help you grow as a person, that help you thrive as a human being. And it all starts with allowing yourself the space to be vulnerable and open, and allowing yourself to share your missteps, your mistakes, the things that are going on in your mind, and that actually frees you up to be authentic.
Right. So, and then I started talking about vulnerability with some other people, and they had a really interesting take on it also. This very influential person that I know was like, you have to really understand who the people he had. First of all, this is emotional intelligence, okay? He has really high emotional intelligence. And I feel like emotional intelligence is something that we really need to foster in order to succeed in life, right? So he has a really high EQ. And he says that you really have to know who you're being vulnerable with, because you don't want to be in a place where you're open, right, to possible, ridicule, or for someone to prey on your weaknesses. Now, I'm coming from the aspect of oneness, and how can someone, like, I'm either in or out, if that makes sense, right? So I'm either all into vulnerability, or I'm not going to be vulnerable at all. So I close down. And it's hard for me to have that balance. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, before you're allowing yourself to be open and be out there and share your feelings, it's important that you trust those that you're sharing this information with. Now, with respect to where the post that you read and I talked about vulnerability, I was speaking with respect to people doing that through their social content in order to, have them resonate with their tribe, in terms of saying, yeah, I am an expert and I am helping you with whatever roadblocks and speed bumps are in your life. But I'm a human being, and I've fallen many times, and I've found out a lot of things about myself that I'm not exactly that happy with. So, I've had to go through this myself. So you're being relatable. And that's the key, though. You have to understand who you're talking to, because, yeah, if it's someone that you don't know, then why the hell would you open up to them in the first place?
Right.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to give yourself the opportunity to be exploited, like what you were talking about, like have your insecurities and your missteps and all of the issues you've had in your life to be thrown in your face in a negative way. That's why you have to be in a place where people hold space for you. And when it comes to thought leaders and people who are out there and influencing others and have a community of people, that's a safe space for them, because those people are doing the exact same thing, reciprocating that vulnerability back.
Yeah. So how did you find, so you would probably, have you ever taken an emotional intelligence test?
No, I know what EQ is. I'm actually a certified practitioner in positive psychology. So we've talked at length about EQ and how to build that intelligence through resiliency and self-regulation and things of that nature. So I've never actually taken the test, but I am familiar with it.
Okay, so very cool. So, I mean, it seems to me from just listening to you speak now and from your posts, because you do come out with 3 posts 3 times a week, correct?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. And your posts are very relatable and they're very authentic, I feel, and they're very helpful for people that are going through these challenging times that we're in, right? So what I find really interesting is that I get the impression that you have high emotional intelligence.
I try. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Listen, if we take out the whole commuting on the New York City subway system, then I have a lot of emotional intelligence. When it comes to that, that's when I still have some speed bumps I'm getting past. But we're working on it.
So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about how you became comfortable with being vulnerable? What was it like, and how long did it take?
I mean, again, it's still a work in progress, but with respect to what I put out there, I do put a lot of stuff out there. Basically, it started as a way for me to relate to my community of people that follow me.
Mm-hmm.
I received some information and some advice from some of my colleagues, and basically it was, you're coming across right now as a photographer who basically is very surface level, who shares everything else that everybody else shares, and there's no you imprint on any of this information. So about a year ago, I did a major overhaul of the way that I teach my lessons and share information and illustrate my expertise in what I do, based on telling stories and teaching lessons through those stories, and not putting any type of restriction on where these stories are coming from. So that's when I started really delving into my past. Mm-hmm. Really talking about where a lot of the struggles that I had growing up as a kid, who was really overweight, very insecure, and had no direction, and was given a lot of instruction on certain ways to live that really does not it really was holding me back. And that's really why I started talking about stuff that was really deep buried within me. And I found it actually not just as a way to share information with people who follow me, but it was very cathartic, and it's very freeing. And at a certain point, you stop really thinking, oh, is this too much or whatever. It's like, whatever, you're placing it within a context that can really help someone else get over their own stuff. And when you make it about other people, because other people matter, mm-hmm. that's really when the change happens. And that's why it's so important to share that vulnerability with people.
Yeah, and I mean, you are inspiring others. I mean, the way I see myself now is that I don't have to convince you. I don't have to convince anyone. I'm not, I don't consider myself a guru, right? I believe that everyone is their own teacher, and we're doing this self-mastery sort of thing. Mm-hmm. As part of self-realization, So, I mean, it's interesting that we have these these inner conflicts that are very paradoxical, right? And on one hand, we want to be vulnerable, we want to open up, and we want to share our light, right?
Yeah.
And place these seeds, because that's really what we're doing. We're seed planters, I believe, right? So what they do with the seed, it's on them, right? We're just placing the seed there, right? So that's how we're sharing our light. But then we have that other part of us that is trying to figure out, well, what is too much? You know, like that is what I struggle with. Like, what is too much? I'm like very, very professional, right? So how do I become more vulnerable even though I'm professional? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a really fine line that you have to like not struggle with, but to walk that fine line.
Well, it depends what your goals are. It's like, why are you sharing this stuff? Who are you sharing it with? What's the point? And I think you need to set up parameters for yourself in order to place a context within the sharing. And I think that will blur the line between what is professional, whatever that means, and, you know, why you're sharing the vulnerability in the first place. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever you do that helps motivate you to show up in the world the way you want, that's what you need to do, because we're all about thriving here. It's about figuring out how to flourish and have a thriving life, and you're giving and you're receiving, and there's reciprocity everywhere. And, you know, part of that, continuing that cycle of positivity to, you know, raise yourself up and live a life that you're proud of, is to be vulnerable and to, you know, be that person that is willing to share their life. I mean, these things that help build us to where we are now, that stuff's important for other people to hear, because it lets them know that they're not alone. They're not alone in figuring out these challenges within their lives.
Right. And no one's really the expert, because unless you're, you know, dead, you're not the expert, you know? And I think,
well, dead, you don't really have much choice for up there. So,
well, I think that a lot of people get sort of stuck in that thought that someone else is the expert. You know, I don't believe that anyone's an expert for everyone. You know, we are individuals, and we are doing this journey for ourselves. We are trying to self-realize, right? So we're trying to recognize that the power truly lies within, not outside of us, you know? So when we look to other people as experts, we sort of give our power away. And
okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, but by the same token, I don't 100% agree with that, because you don't have all the answers. We all aren't able to process the answers that we have within ourselves. We need help. We are not islands. The strongest connection that we have in life are relationships with other people. Mm-hmm. And we need people to help motivate us, to get us off our ass and to do the thing that we're meant to do and live a life, you know, that we want to live. I also do see the point that you're making about giving away the power. Now, that is something I have actually seen. But that's because the person does not have a proper context around the information that they are receiving. Mm-hmm. They have not set up the proper boundaries between the person that is teaching them and how they receive it. That does not mean that the expert is stealing their power. They are actually empowering those people when the relationship is set up in a very structured and in a manner that will benefit both parties.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the expert would want to steal people's power. I feel like it's more about like the individual who's giving their power away.
That's what I'm talking about.
voluntarily.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The reality is the responsibility lies with the person to actually stand on their own 2 feet and actually have a say and not, I mean, it's easy to just follow. It's easy. It's not hard
For some people.
Well, fair, but we're talking about these people in particular that are giving away their power. And the reality is it's their fault. Because they have not set up, like I said, the proper boundary and they're not respecting their own selves. They're just like, whatever you say, I'm going to follow you. And that's not how it's done. That's not how it's done.
So you're bringing up boundaries, which has been a topic in my Facebook community for, I think about a month. And it's really interesting because I have 2 sides to boundaries. First of all, I feel like we have to have healthy boundaries, right? To like sort of know where we are and know where we end, sort of thing. But in the same token, if we're empathic, there are no boundaries. There's enmeshment because we're feeling compassion. And what is compassion but being able to be with other people and connecting to them and accepting where they are at that moment?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. But at the end of the day, there needs to be an awareness on the part of the person receiving the information from the expert and knowing that, hey, when this thing starts to feel weird, I need to follow my intuition and I need to step back.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, boundary mesh, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's called having an awareness.
A what?
An awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're able to provide care to yourself, and then you're able to move on and be able to receive that guidance and that help in a healthy way that benefits you, and you don't feel depleted or cheated or you've been ripped off or whatever. Your energy is intact, your goals are still intact, the meaning behind everything is intact, and you're moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of self-awareness to be that way and to be that person, you know? And I feel like I really feel like everything is serving us. And that in itself is part of the journey. It's part of the process, being that vulnerable to give your power away and also being able to take your power back, you know? And it's that interplay and that dance between power giving and power taking, if that makes any sense. And it's a fine line again. It's all about that harmony and finding your center, your core center, in order to really know how to like balance it. Right.
But if you have harmony, then there can be no power taken and given. It's just
exactly. It's harmonious. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of labels. And I'm not a big fan of power this and power that. Again, it's because what I do for a living is a very vulnerable thing for people. And it is a very, it's a scary thing. And people are anxious because you're basically putting a mirror in front of people and you're showing them everything that they feel insecure about.
Mm-hmm.
And I, at no point, want this to feel like a power dynamic between me, driving the wheel of this session and the other person, just sitting in the back seat. It's a collaboration.
Absolutely.
It's not a power divide. It is a collaboration from the moment that you work. Now, granted, I understand that not everyone sees the world in the way in which I do, and I understand that you speak on behalf of people who have dealt with something along those lines. But again, I don't see it as I'm here, they're here, we're trying to go and do it's always here and we're working to go this way. That's the way it works when I work with my clients, and because it's harmonious.
It is.
And it's magical.
It's supposed to be, right? I think.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course it is, because I love what I do unconditionally, and I love allowing people to give them that space to bitch and moan about the things that they hate, about the way they look and how they're coming out in these pictures, and then watch the transformation over the hours of the session. And then by the end of it, it's a celebration of them being able to get past all the BS and do what is right and important for them to help other people through this content that we're creating. And that's really what this is all about. It's about helping those, for me, helping those who help other people.
But I have to tell you that you come out as a great coach. Like your inspirational knowledge and awareness is really great. So I don't know if you've ever considered coaching, because that might be a great thing for you to consider. You know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Coaching is of some sort, is in the works, but it's not going to be for those I currently serve. It's going to be in a different direction. I think I'm going to give a little bit back to my fellow photographers, but that's down the line. Right now we're knee deep in taking some good pictures.
Good.
Yeah.
And I really find it interesting that it seems to me the more aware and the more heart-centered you are, the more you're into the arts. And photography is very artistic.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really interesting.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I think it makes, and a little bit of my backstory, which adds a nice little wrinkle to this whole business that I have, which is when I was younger and I was overweight, and I was very overweight until my early 20s, and I hated pictures more than life itself. I used to, quite frankly, be an embarrassment to my family and friends. When they would pull the camera out, I would run away. Literally run. It's bad. Like, I think about it now, it's like, oh God, I did that. And I did. And I did.
Wait, but you did that because you were feeling such pain and angst. You know, that's really what you were running away from, I think. You know, that's what I feel.
Well, definitely was part of it. I was not comfortable in my own skin. You know, and that's a daily challenge to this day. Not nearly as much, but back then it was. I didn't even have the emotional toolbox with which to handle all the head garbage that was circulating, all that negative mind chatter over and over and over again, and it was just nonstop. And I would run from the camera. So it's ironic that someone who started out his life as someone who hated pictures to that extent is now a photographer, but it's actually quite harmonious, because I actually can really relate with those people who are anxious in front of the camera, and I go to work on them. A lot of mental work, a lot of mindset strategy, a lot of tough love, and I just talk a lot of crap and make them laugh and get them comfortable, and it's really what you got to do. Because at the end of the day, all that stuff that's in your head, it really means nothing, because you ultimately are the one that has the power to control that narrative in your mind, and no one else. And you can do it. And it's a matter of rewiring those neurons in your head to fire in ways that are much more positive and much more that will lead to you living a flourishing life.
Absolutely. That's completely correct, I feel. Yeah, the power lies within, and we need to understand that as a community, as a society, and we need to build on that instead of having these power struggles that we always have, you know?
Yeah, we need more hugs in this world. I think that's what it is.
Well, I think we need more connection in this world.
That too. Yeah. No, yeah, sure.
And I mean, that's how, like, my business is called Sacred Connections, because I feel that all connections are sacred in nature. Every single connection, your connection to nature, your connection to animals, everything, your connections to people, everything is sacred in my view, you know?
Yeah. Well, if it has value and it creates meaning in your life, yeah.
Well, even this is where I'm coming from. Everything is here to serve you, no matter what. The bad, the good, and the ugly. Everything is here to serve you. whether you want to take the opportunity to take the bad and the ugly and see how that's serving you, that's on you, really.
Well, it's the
Because
bad and
like
the
you
ugly.
said,
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you know, because like you said, when you were younger, you hated photography, right? Not that you hated photography, but you did not want to be in pictures. And it
Right.
is that in itself that is one of your main power sources, because you became a photographer and this is your passion. Do you know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
So you took that ugly or that bad and you made it into a good thing. Do you know what I'm saying? And you did that.
Right. Right. And that was going to be my point before. It's that you have to, if you want to grow as a human being and continue on your path, whatever that is, whatever your goals are in your life, you must look at the bad and the ugly, because
Absolutely.
that's where the growth really lies.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the hardest part. It's also the most frustrating part. It's also the most depressing part, but it also is the place where you will find your answers.
Absolutely. And the answers are within everyone, you know, if they are willing to have the courage to go within. Do you meditate?
I'm a bad
Not really.
meditator.
It's okay.
I've done it. And I'm just,
It's okay.
I'm trying to figure out actually my rhythm with it. I used to do it in the morning and then I tried it at night and I'm like, so now it's like, I got to figure something out.
So I believe that meditation doesn't have to be this, closing your eyes and just sitting there.
I don't do
I
that
don't,
anyway.
you know,
So
yeah, like meditation is really being aware and present in the moment, in the now
yeah,
moment. It is not about tomorrow. It is not about yesterday. It's about right now. Just
right.
be present. So you can really be meditating while you're doing the dishes, you know, taking these simple things that you do as chores could be very meditative, truly,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. The other thing would be just to, honestly, to look just into breath work, because I've been
Absolutely.
hearing a lot of great things about just breath work, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the whole Om part.
No, right.
And
The breath is so empowering,
yeah,
because
it
when
is.
we are upset, if we notice, if we're aware, if we're upset, we stop breathing, you know?
Yes.
And if you stop breathing, you're actually not thinking. You know, you can really black out, right, from not breathing. So
Yes. It's
to
a
break
problem.
that, it is a problem. It's a very big problem, right?
We don't want that.
We don't want you to black out ever.
Or die. We don't want that.
Well,
Not before your time.
we want our focus, me and you, for example, our focus is to really bring awareness into these things, right?
Yes.
So if we are concentrating on breath when you are upset, instead of having that commotion and go with that, you know, because it's either you're controlling your mind or your mind is controlling you. Which one will it be, you know?
Right.
So bringing it back to the simple act of breathing actually empowers.
Absolutely, because it forces you to take the negative mind chatter and put it to the side and be back in the present moment. And anytime
That's
that
it.
you allow yourself to do that, it's empowering, and it also serves its purpose in a very huge way, because the moment that you allow that hamster wheel to start going in your mind, I mean, years ago, it would knock me off course for hours, if not days. And it was really crazy. I would wake up and I would fall asleep anxious and then wake up and be like, oh, I feel okay. And then it was like, what was I anxious about? Like trying to think about what I was anxious about. I don't know why I did that, but I did that all the time. And I would start freaking out all over again. And it's like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing?
Well, I think that's a purpose of awareness, right? To become aware. You wanted to know why you were feeling that feeling. And I think that's a good thing to play with, actually, because it brings awareness to all these different feelings that we feel on a daily basis. You know, you're not just like a robot, you know?
Sure, but it it serves you to think of it that way when you have the emotional intelligence with which to handle it and not let it get out of control and then overwhelm you once again, and then you're anxious and freaking out and nervous and the chatter is going on and on and on and on, and you are no longer productive. But if you are able to have some form of self-regulation, to be able to talk to yourself in a healthy way, to be able to shut down the chatter, and to be able to right the ship, yes, it makes a lot of sense. But again, it all goes back to awareness. It goes back to the awareness of understanding where you are in terms of being able to self-regulate your emotions. And if you're able to do that, then you're going to be okay. Because now, listen, at the end of the day, we all still freak out. There is no, I am in this zone of amazingness my whole day, 24/7. No.
Although that would be good.
If you could put that shit in a bottle and sell it, that would be the thing. But unfortunately, that doesn't exist. So we have to work around that. But the thing about it is that it's so important to be open to allowing yourself to learn these principles and these interventions that you can provide yourself in order to give yourself that care and that compassion, so you don't just beat yourself up like, I suck, I hate this is a terrible idea, I'm going to be a failure for the rest of my life, I hate the way that I look. All of that stuff goes by the wayside the moment that you allow yourself to build up that strength. But again, it stems back to the idea of
being aware and being present.
Yeah, and it takes time because, like I said, we all still go through that stuff because we're all human beings, and no matter how zen you are, you're gonna freak out. But what happens is that the stress goes from this long to this long.
That's exactly it. That's what I was getting at.
You're gonna do the hands too, aren't you? We're so in sync right now.
We really are. So it's about the time period that you're feeling these unfortunate, negative feelings. Instead of being like your whole day, maybe it's half the day, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 10 minutes, So yes. The more aware you are and the more present you are, the less you're going to feel that anxiety, because anxiety really stems from not being in the present moment.
Yes. Yeah, because you're worrying about yesterday or tomorrow and you're blowing it on today.
Absolutely. So if you're in the present moment, there are no anxieties. They just can't be there.
Right.
They don't coexist.
Yes. And again, it's all about getting back to that moment where you can just cut everything down. So, I mean, again, is that something that you're going to be able to learn in 10 minutes? No. It takes years.
Unless you really want to. I'm all for everything is possible,
Sure. I mean, yeah, and I'm going to walk outside and someone's going to hand me $50 million. It's going to be
anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything.
And I'm thinking about it right now. It's going to happen. But
well, you know how we manifest, thoughts become things, but it's not just the thought itself that becomes a thing. It's actually your emotion that gives it that fire to create it,
Right.
So if you really believe something and you put that fire of your emotional body into it, that's how you manifest.
Oh, so you mean when I think stuff, it doesn't just happen? I mean, that would be awesome. I've actually written about that I think it's The Secret or whatever, or Law of Attraction or something like that. And the thing that I always, that has been the piece that a lot of people miss. It's like, oh,
I agree.
Like, oh, we don't live in fantasy land, kids. Get your ass to work. That's how you manifest. You manifest by visualizing, and not just visualizing the end goal. You process visualize every step that it takes to get to the goal. It's
but
not
more
just
than that, it's feel the feeling. How do you want to feel?
Oh, that's no, it's all connected. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, because if you don't have that emotional connection, what the hell's the point in the first place? You know, it's not something that will have any legs or any traction or any kind of there's no pull to it if you're not magnetically drawn to it emotionally. So you have to have that feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's.
I feel like people get stuck in The Secret. People get stuck in that law of attraction because they're actually missing the law of vibration. You know, the vibration is actually what magnetizes to itself. You know, so
Is that an energy? Is that an energy thing? I'm not familiar with the.
Well, vibration is what we are, right? As energetic beings,
Sure.
we're vibration, and we're always vibrating at a certain frequency, right? So if you want to really manifest something, you really want to concentrate on the feeling state, because that is the vibration that you're going for. So once you start feeling that more and more and more, that will be magnetized. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the vibration.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense, because if you don't feel a deep draw to whatever it is that you're seeking or looking to achieve or trying to go after with your life, it's not going to happen. You do need that pull.
Yeah, you need the pull. I don't feel people want money. I feel people really want what money can buy. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not the money that people want. It's actually what they would feel having that money, being able to have that safety and security that brings, having the ability to buy whatever it is that they want to buy. I mean, I feel like we're, as a society, completely materialistic, you know, and very wasteful. So I'm struggling with that in my personal journey, you know, having had built these things, always wanting more and never wanting to stop wanting more. Do you know what I'm saying? And now I'm thinking I'm a slave to these things that I've collected.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, you know?
Well, is it? Or is it another point of a learning lesson for you?
Oh, no, it's always
part of your path.
It's always that. It's always about learning, but it's unfortunate that it took me this long to learn it, you know?
Better late than never.
Yeah,
right?
But now I just want to throw everything out, you know? And that's very wasteful.
That's funny you mention that, because last year I went through my apartment, and I mean, aside from this room, this is my office where I have all my lovely equipment.
This is my office, so I understand.
Yes, that's your magic space.
Yeah.
With the teddy bear in the corner protecting you. So I gave up about 20 button-down shirts. I gave away sweaters. I gave away all the DVDs. I threw out a bunch of old crap, and it was just one of the most cathartic things. And I stopped spending money on things that, quite frankly, I just didn't need, because, you know, but the thing about that is, part of where that comes from is just becoming a business owner, from working full-time and being in the matrix, as I refer to it.
So do I.
9 to 5 in it, and doing what I was doing. And you know, you realize that all that shit that you buy is just trying to make you feel better about the fact that you're completely miserable and not growing inside, and it's just not going to work.
To feel that emptiness, absolutely.
But when you actually do go on a path where you're like, screw it, I'm going to make this work for me. I want to build something where I can contribute to the greater good of people. You know, all of a sudden, all that other stuff means nothing. It really does. I mean, I wear black t-shirts like every day. I have like 3 of these, you know, my hashtag on it. And I wear the same stuff every day. I eat the same things every day. I eliminate decision fatigue at every step that I can, because I want to leverage my energy in a way that's going to, you know, help grow my business and help grow my visibility, so I can therefore help those who need me.
Yeah.
You know?
I truly believe that money is, like the byproduct of following your passion. You know, it's going to come if you're following your passion, if you're following your purpose, if you're in alignment, everything that you ever need will be there for you, because the world will support you in these ways. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you put in the effort to be seen, and you put in the effort to educate those and share what you have in order to provide for others, to help them get, you know, themselves together. I agree. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, success is never having to worry about paying a utility bill ever again.
Absolutely.
That's my goal. That's and my other goal is to be able to afford sugary drinks on a beach somewhere and not have to pick up a phone for 10 days. So those are my two. That's my whole thing on money. Very modest goals, but goals nonetheless.
My goals are more altruistic, I have to say. It's about putting that message out.
Oh, no. That I'm not talking about that.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not talking
goals. Okay.
No, money goals. I mean,
Okay.
in terms of what I'm doing, I'm living it right now, and it's pretty damn awesome. And I look forward to continuing the path and you know, manifesting different ways that I can provide help to the people that I help. And it's very fulfilling inside. And yes, that's my non-money goal, you know, but yeah.
I mean, you know, it's interesting that you brought up the Matrix really quickly before we end, because I wanted the Matrix to be my life, you know, so I was living very inauthentically to who I truly am for about, I think it was over a decade, you know, and it took a lot of inner work to really get to where I am now, where I just don't care about the Matrix anymore, which may not be such a great thing still, but who knows, we'll get there when we get there, right? But me having to say, well, you know, I have this master's degree and I didn't go for it. I went for it for the sort of the wrong reasons, you know, because I wanted that security. I wanted that, you know, that secure paycheck that would come every like 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying? The health benefits and all these things. That's all part of the Matrix, right? And then my true self was like, absolutely not. That's not what your heart really wants. Your heart really wants to spread this message of enlightenment. Truly, that's what it is, right? It's about planting these seeds, and who cares? You have to trust. You have to trust. So even, it took a while though to get there, I have to say. Even though I was like sort of doing this on the side and like on the DL, it wasn't until I became more comfortable with being vulnerable that I put myself out in the public eye in this way, in the social media way, where I started to see more progress in living my purpose, you know? So it was actually the vulnerability that's allowed that to happen. But if it wasn't for the vulnerability, it wouldn't have happened. I mean, like with my YouTube channel, it doesn't have many subscribers right now, so please subscribe if you can. But it wasn't it wasn't until I spoke vulnerably and openly about my NDE that I started getting more subscribers. Do you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't planning on doing that ever, but I followed my guidance to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's funny. You're just a living testament to why people need to put more content out there. You're helping me out by saying that, because that's exactly what I tell my people. You know, it's about sharing that stuff. That's really where the secret sauce is. It's not just about showing people the results of your success, and it's not just about, you know, being flashy or any of that kind of stuff. It's about showing people that you got your ass kicked left, right, up, and down, and yet you're still standing. And not only are you standing, but you're floating and you're moving forward. And it's just all about that progress. I mean, I have a very similar story to you. I have a master's degree. I did the same damn thing. I pursued, and I worked in TV for, 9 years full time after I got my degree, and freelanced a little bit more. And the paycheck, the health insurance. I mean, literally, those are the two things I would always talk about with people. And it was like, well, why are you still doing all this stuff? Why are you on the train commuting to your job, arguing with yourself, with people in your mind before you even in the building?
Absolutely.
You didn't even have coffee yet. Like, what the hell are you doing? So I just, it literally took the death of my mother to realize, hey, if I'm on my deathbed right now, I'm going to be really pissed at myself, and this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing you know, I quit, and I took my side thing, which was headshot photography, built on that, and 4 years later, here we are, you know, walking around with a T-shirt with a hashtag on it.
I think that's great. That's great.
But that's the thing. It's about finding that thing which lights you up inside, which excites you, which makes you happy to wake up in the morning. I was on the train yesterday for, I had to go into Manhattan for something, and it was during rush hour. And walking around watching all these friggin' zombies everywhere on the phone, not paying attention, drinking 55 gallons. I mean, I drink a lot of coffee. I shouldn't talk shit about that. But the point is that they're just chugging it down. Oh, I was drinking water right now. You know, I mix. Listen, I mix. But the point is like these people are so miserable, and I was so miserable being surrounded by the miserableness, and it reminded me, it's like, dude, this is why you do what you do. This is why you've given up a lot of things and made the sacrifices, because where you're going is worth so much more than this shit.
Absolutely.
It's not even funny. So.
And you're trusting, you're allowing, and you're flowing. And that's really what it's about.
It's at the beginning, and when you build, it's blind faith, because you don't know if this is going to work out, and you don't know how it's going to work out, or is this the right direction, or is that the right, it's like you don't know. But all you do know is that you believe in what you know, and what you know can help other people, and that's all you're going on. And you know, the rest takes care.
That's right here, your heart. You're trusting your heart. Your heart will guide you through everything.
I believe that.
The mind will make you feel like you're in a maze, and your heart will tell you where to go. That's really what it's about. And if you focus on the breath, and if you allow that process to really take on, you will be guided. And I'm not saying that, you know, the matrix is not for everyone. The matrix might be for some people, you know, and that's really what it's about. It's about allowing everyone to find their own way in this reality, you know?
Yeah. Again, it's all about showing up in the world the way you want.
Right.
Not through fear, not through anxiety, not through, last ditch efforts. It's about whatever that looks like, that's what it is. And, you know, I mean, hey, just want everybody to be happy. You know, be happy and flourishing. So, you know, if you get a job that you love and it allows you the space to do whatever you want when you have your time, then damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah.
I wish I had that, but you know.
But the point is that everyone has the choice. We have the choice.
Yes, you don't have to do that. You can do something else.
Right.
Sure.
And you can trust that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, if you believe in yourself. And and how you are going to show up. Yes.
So now tell us, how can we reach you if we wanted to have headshots done and things like that? Because I know that you're based in Manhattan, New York City.
I'm based in Queens, but yes.
Okay.
I'm in New York City. Yeah. You can find me through my website, johndemato.com. You can go on Instagram, find me at DeMato Photo, or type this in to any Google machine search engine, and you'll find it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay,
you're welcome.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Do you have any last words for us?
Be well.
Be well, absolutely. So I will leave you with that. Thank you so much for joining us, and please subscribe. Thanks.